Stolen, Serenity Maya. Rivera stared at her reflection in the antique vanity mirror, fingers tracing the delicate lace trim of her wedding dress. 3 days until she would walk down the aisle to Ethan Collins, respected gallery owner, community pillar, and the man who had shown her what stability felt like. "You look perfect," said Nina, her maid of honor, arranging the veil. "Ethan is going to absolutely melt when he sees you." Maya smiled, but something flickered behind her eyes, a momentary shadow that had been appearing more frequently in recent weeks. "I just want everything to be right," she murmured. Later that night, Maya jolted awake, sheets twisted around her legs, heart hammering against her ribs. The nightmare again, running through narrow European streets, rain-slicked cobblestones, a gallery alarm wailing in the distance, and a voice calling her another name, a name she had buried 5 years ago. She padded to the kitchen of her downtown apartment, the space tastefully decorated with the art pieces Ethan had helped her select. "Pieces with provenance," he'd said with that charming smile of his. If only he knew. Maya's hands trembled as she poured a glass of water. The nightmares had returned 3 months ago, right after Ethan had proposed, as if her subconscious was warning her, or perhaps punishing her, for daring to believe she deserved this happiness. Her phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "Can't sleep thinking about you. 3 more days until forever begins." She typed back something sweet and reassuring, the guilt seeping through her veins. Ethan knew her as Maya Rivera, talented restaurant manager with a degree in hospitality management and a passion for impressionist art. He didn't know Mira Reyes, who had once moved through the European art world with practiced ease, whose nimble fingers had replicated masterpieces that now hung in private collections of people who didn't ask questions. And he certainly didn't know about Julian. The following morning, Maya met Nina for coffee at their favorite bakery. The spring sunshine poured through the windows, illuminating the pastry case where they selected macarons, a small luxury that had become their tradition. "Pre-wedding jitters?" Nina asked, noticing Maya's distraction. "Something like that." Maya stirred her latte absently. "Do you ever feel like your life is too good to be true? Like any moment something will shatter it all?" Nina reached across the table and squeezed Maya's hand. "That's just fear talking. You've worked hard for this life. You deserve Ethan. This beautiful wedding, all of it." If only that were true, Maya thought. She had worked hard to disappear, to reinvent herself, to build something legitimate. The gallery job had been her first step, where she'd met Ethan. His family's name had opened doors for her, his connections helping her establish herself in a world she once navigated from the shadows. That afternoon, while finalizing details with the florist, Maya's phone rang with an unknown international number. She declined it, but moments later, a text arrived. "They found the Monet. Questions being asked. You need to know what's coming." Maya's blood turned to ice. No one had that number. No one from before knew she was here. She deleted the message, hands shaking so badly she dropped her phone. "Everything all right?" the florist asked. "Yes," Maya lied, the words sticking in her throat. "Just wedding stress." That night, Maya stood on her balcony staring at the city lights below. 5 years of careful steps, of looking over her shoulder, of building a life so different from her past that no one would connect the dots. 5 years of trying to forget Julian's eyes, his touch, the way he'd whispered her real name like a prayer. 5 years of convincing herself that she was now Maya Rivera, soon to be Maya Collins, respectable and loved. But as she looked out at the glittering cityscape, Maya knew the past was never truly buried. It was merely waiting for the perfect moment to rise from its grave, and her wedding day would be exactly that. Vows interrupted. The cathedral bells chimed noon as sunlight streamed through stained glass, casting kaleidoscope patterns across Maya's wedding gown. Outside, guests filled the pews. Ethan's extensive family and business connections on one side, Maya's carefully curated collection of new friends on the other. "You're trembling," Nina whispered, adjusting Maya's veil one final time. "Just excited," Maya lied, though her eyes constantly darted to the entrances. That text message had haunted her for 3 days. She'd changed her number, doubled back on her routes home, checked the locks twice each night. But no further contact had come, leaving her suspended in dread. The wedding coordinator appeared at the doorway. "It's time." Maya took a deep breath. This was her moment, her deliberate step into a future she had carefully designed. The string quartet began Pachelbel's canon, and one by one the bridesmaids processed down the aisle. Nina squeezed her hand one last time. "Your new life begins now." As Nina took her place at the altar, the bridal march swelled. Guests rose. Ethan stood tall and proud beside the priest, his eyes shining with genuine adoration. Maya stepped forward, clutching her bouquet of white peonies and blue hydrangeas. 3 steps down the aisle, she saw him. Julian Hayes sat in the last row, near the exit. His dark hair was shorter now, his face leaner. But those intense eyes remained unchanged. Eyes that had once looked at her with passion as they plotted their next acquisition, as they celebrated another perfect forgery, as they tangled in sheets in Prague, Barcelona, Vienna. Maya faltered mid-step. The music continued, but she couldn't move. Julian didn't smile. He simply raised his hand slightly, revealing a small white card between his fingers. A museum identification card, the kind issued to art authentication experts. Maya forced herself forward, each step heavier than the last. Ethan's smile wavered as he sensed her distress. She reached the altar on autopilot, her mind racing with escape routes, contingency plans she'd created years ago but hoped never to use. The priest began the ceremony. "Dearly beloved." Maya's gaze kept drifting to Julian, who remained utterly still, watching her with an intensity that made her skin burn despite the cathedral's cool air. "If anyone can show just cause why this couple cannot lawfully be joined together in matrimony, let them speak now or forever hold their peace." The traditional pause. Maya held her breath. Julian stood. Murmurs rippled through the congregation. Ethan's expression hardened from confusion to anger. "I apologize for the interruption," Julian said, his voice carrying through the cathedral with the same quiet authority Maya remembered. "But I need to speak with the bride on an urgent matter of international security." Nina stepped forward protectively. "This is insane. Who are you?" But Maya already placed a restraining hand on Nina's arm. "It's all right. Maya?" Ethan's voice broke through her tunnel vision. "What's happening?" She met his eyes, those kind eyes that had never looked at her with anything but warmth. "I need a moment, Ethan. I'm sorry." Maya walked down the aisle toward Julian, her wedding dress whispering against the stone floor. When she reached him, he leaned close, his familiar scent triggering a cascade of memories. "The Amsterdam piece has been identified as a forgery," he murmured. "They've traced the pigment signature to a specific batch we used 5 years ago. Interpol has reopened the case." "I'm getting married, Julian," she hissed. "You're marrying into one of the most scrutinized families in the art world," he countered. "The Collins name is on every major museum board. When this breaks, they'll look at every acquisition, every authentication, including Ethan's." Maya's face drained of color. "Ethan had nothing to do with any of this." "I know. That's why I'm here." His eyes softened momentarily. "You have 12 hours before they release the findings to the press." The wedding coordinator approached cautiously. "Ms. Rivera? Is everything all right?" Maya turned to face the bewildered congregation. Ethan's confused expression, Nina's protective stance. 5 years of careful construction crumbling in an instant. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice carrying through the hushed cathedral. "The wedding needs to be postponed." Shadows unveiled, you disappeared. Julian's words hung in the air between them as they sat in a quiet corner of a hotel bar 3 blocks from the cathedral. Maya still wore her wedding dress, though she'd removed the veil and pulled a coat over the gown to avoid attention. "That was the point," she replied, staring into her untouched whiskey. "After Venice, I had to." Venice. 5 years ago. The job that had gone catastrophically wrong. Julian leaned forward. "I spent 2 years looking for you." "You shouldn't have." Maya's fingers tightened around her glass. "Not after what happened." The memories surfaced like air bubbles from a drowned corpse. unwelcome, inevitable. She had been Mira then, part of an elite forgery ring specializing in impressionist masterpieces. Julian had been the authentication expert, the one who could identify the microscopic flaws that separated a masterwork from a brilliant fake. Together they had been unstoppable. Until Venice. "They told me you were dead," Julian said quietly. "The explosion at the gallery, your blood was found at the scene." Maya's hand unconsciously touched the scar that ran along her ribs, hidden beneath layers of satin and lace. That part wasn't faked. They'd been commissioned to create a Monet for a private collector, a dangerous man with connections to organized crime. But something had gone wrong. The gallery had exploded the night of the handoff, killing the collector and nearly killing her. "I woke up in a hospital with no identification," Maya continued. "When I saw the news reports claiming the explosion was meant to destroy evidence of forgeries, I knew I had to disappear. Everyone thought I was dead, including you. It seemed safer that way." "You thought I set you up," Julian stated flatly. Maya met his eyes. The timing was too perfect. "You missed our meeting." The collector arrived early. The explosion happened exactly when the security cameras were scheduled to reset. "I was taken," Julian said, rolling up his sleeve to reveal a jagged scar circling his wrist. "Held for 3 days by people who thought I had the painting. By the time I escaped, you were gone." Doubt crept into Maya's certainty for the first time in years. "Who were they?" "The same people who are reopening the investigation now." Julian placed a file on the table. Victor Renault, art dealer, money launderer. The Venice collector was his brother-in-law. Maya's blood ran cold. "Renault believes I'm alive?" "He will by tomorrow." Julian tapped the file. "The Amsterdam forgery was attributed to our ring based on the chemical analysis. Your specific brushwork was identified on a previously undiscovered piece. Your signature technique, Mira." The use of her old name sent shivers down her spine. In the 5 years since Venice, Maya had built her new identity meticulously. No connections to her past. No art except what she appreciated in galleries, never touched. A deliberate career shift to restaurant management, where her knowledge of fine wines and European customs served her well without raising suspicions. And then Ethan, charming, brilliant Ethan, who had walked into her restaurant to host a gallery dinner and never stopped coming back. "I need to warn Ethan," she said suddenly. "His family collection has 3 pieces we created," Julian finished for her. The Degas in his mother's sitting room, the small Monet study in his father's office, and the Renoir sketch he gave you for your engagement. Maya stared at him in shock. "How could you possibly know that?" "Because I've been tracking our works for 5 years, trying to recover them before anyone else could identify them." His expression hardened. "The Renoir sketch was a message, Mira. It was my way of finding you." Maya's mind reeled with the implications. Ethan didn't know. He bought it at auction. An auction arranged by me through 3 shell companies, designed to place that piece in the Collins collection. Julian's eyes held hers. "I needed to know if you were alive. When I saw the engagement announcement in the art section with that sketch visible in the background of the photo, I knew." Anger flared in Maya's chest. "You manipulated him to get to me?" "I protected you," Julian countered. "By controlling which of our works were in circulation, I've kept the investigation contained. But now Renault has found the Amsterdam piece and everything's unraveling." Maya stood abruptly. "I need to see Ethan. He deserves to know why his wedding just imploded." Julian caught her wrist. "If you tell him the truth, you implicate him. Art fraud, criminal conspiracy. His family's reputation would be destroyed." "So what do you suggest?" Maya demanded. Julian's eyes were solemn. "Run, like before. But this time, not alone." Part 4. Crossroads of Truth. Maya sat in Ethan's study, still in her wedding dress, watching his face as he processed what little she could safely tell him. Outside, rain had begun to fall, drops pattering against the windows of the Collins family estate. "So this man, Julian, he's from your past. A past you've never shared with me." Ethan's voice was controlled, but hurt radiated from every word. "Yes. And now there's some kind of threat that's serious enough to stop our wedding." But you can't tell me what it is. He paced by the fireplace, the flames casting his shadow long across the hardwood floor. Maya's eyes drifted to the Renoir sketch hanging above the mantel, the sketch Julian had orchestrated into Ethan's possession, the breadcrumb that had led to this moment. Its delicate lines mocked her. A forgery so perfect even Ethan's expert eye had been deceived. I was a different person then, Ethan. I've spent 5 years becoming someone worthy of you. Ethan stopped pacing. Worthy of me? Maya, I never asked you to be anything other than yourself. You don't understand, she whispered. Then help me understand. His composure finally cracked. 3 hours ago, we were getting married. Now you're sitting in my study with a stranger waiting outside talking about leaving town. Maya stood, crossing to him, taking his hands in hers. She loved these hands, artist's hands, with paint perpetually embedded around the nails, hands that had held her through nightmares she could never explain. If I tell you everything, it puts you in danger. It puts your family's reputation at risk, understanding dawned in Ethan's eyes. This is about art, isn't it? The gallery's my family's collection. Maya remained silent, which was confirmation enough. Ethan released her hands, moving to the window. I always sensed there was something. The way you looked at certain paintings, your knowledge that went beyond casual appreciation. He turned back to her, rain-splattered glass behind him. Are you running from the law? It's complicated. That's not an answer, Maya. A soft knock interrupted them. Nina stood in the doorway, her bridesmaid dress exchanged for jeans and a sweater. Sorry to interrupt, but that man, Julian, says you need to leave soon. Something about a flight. Maya nodded, grateful for the interruption yet heartbroken at what it signified. Thank you, Nina. When they were alone again, Ethan spoke with quiet dignity. You're leaving with him, aren't you? I have to resolve this, Ethan. I owe you that much. If there's any chance for us afterward, is there? His question cut to the heart of her dilemma. After seeing him today, the way you looked at each other, was I ever really the one, Maya? Or was I just part of this new identity you created? The question stung because it contained a kernel of truth she'd never allowed herself to examine. Ethan represented everything she had wanted: stability, respectability, a life without constantly looking over her shoulder. But Julian, I love you, Ethan, she said, and meant it. But I need to fix my past before I can have a future, with anyone. Ethan crossed to his desk, unlocked a drawer, and removed a small case. Then take this. He handed it to her. Inside was a necklace with a small, elegant key pendant. What is this? Safe deposit box, Geneva, under a name only you and I know. His eyes met hers with unexpected intensity. If you need somewhere to disappear again, it's ready. Maya stared at him in shock. You knew? All this time? Not details. But I knew you were running from something. He touched her face gently. I hoped eventually you'd trust me enough to tell me. I guess we ran out of time. In that moment, Maya realized how deeply she had underestimated Ethan, seeing only what she wanted to see, a simple, uncomplicated man who would never understand her past. Instead, he had sensed her secrets and created a safety net for her without question. I don't deserve you, she whispered. Ethan smiled sadly. Maybe not, but I deserved the truth. As Maya prepared to leave, she faced the impossible choice between the safety she had built and the dangerous past that had found her anyway. Between Ethan, who offered her a new beginning without questions, and Julian, who knew her darkest secrets and shared her darkest talents. Reclaimed canvas. 3 months later, Maya stood in a small Zurich gallery, examining a Monet water lilies painting with practiced scrutiny. Her hair was shorter now, dyed a rich auburn, one of several changes to her appearance since leaving her wedding day behind. It's one of ours, came Julian's voice from behind her. From the Prague collection 2017. Maya nodded. I know. I recognize my own brush strokes in the lily pads. She turned to him. How many more are still circulating? 4 after tonight. Julian checked his watch. Renault will be here in 20 minutes for the private showing. Their plan was elegant in its simplicity. After tracking Renault's movements for months, they had arranged for him to discover this painting, a forgery they had created years ago, but now modified with subtle chemical markers that would lead investigators to Renault's own art. Authentication lab, Maya adjusted the concealed camera in her necklace, a different one from what Ethan had given her. Once he authenticates this piece, we'll have him on record vouching for a forgery he himself commissioned. Poetic justice, Julian agreed, his fingers brushing hers as he handed her a glass of champagne for their cover as wealthy art patrons. The touch sent electricity through her skin, as it always had. In the months since her aborted wedding, Maya and Julian had worked together seamlessly, their old rhythms returning as they systematically dismantled the evidence against them and redirected the investigation toward Renault. What remained unresolved was everything else between them. I saw Ethan last week, Maya said quietly. Julian's expression remained neutral, though his eyes sharpened. How is he? Moving forward. The gallery is expanding to Berlin. She took a sip of champagne. He asked about you. What did you tell him? The truth. That we're dealing with the past so we can all have a future. Julian studied her face. And what future do you see for yourself, Mira? Or is it still Maya now? It was the question she had been avoiding for months. Who was she, really? The talented forger with the perfect eye? Or the woman who had built a life from scratch, who had almost married into respectability? I don't know yet, she admitted. But I'm tired of being defined by what I'm running from. The gallery door opened, and Victor Renault entered, elegant, dangerous, and completely unaware he was walking into a trap. Maya straightened, slipping into the role of naive art enthusiast, while Julian moved to position himself near the painting. 2 hours later, it was done. Renault had authenticated the forgery on camera, accepted a payment for his services, and unwittingly implicated himself in the very fraud investigation he had initiated. The evidence was already being transmitted to Interpol contacts Julian had cultivated. It's over, Julian said as they walked along the Limit River later that night, the city lights reflecting in the dark water. You're free, Maya stopped, turning to face him. Am I? The investigation has been redirected. The remaining pieces are either secured or discredited. Your name, both your names, have been cleared. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, a familiar gesture from another lifetime. You can go back to your life with Ethan if that's what you want. Maya caught his hand. Is that what you think I want? The air between them charged with 5 years of separation, 3 months of proximity without resolution, and a history that had never truly ended. What I want, Maya said carefully, is to stop pretending. No more forgeries. No more fake identities. She stepped closer to him. I want to create something real. Julian's expression softened. And Ethan? Deserves someone who isn't living 2 lives. We both know that was never going to be me. She interlaced her fingers with his. He released me from promises I couldn't keep. Now I need to know if you're willing to make some new ones. Instead of answering immediately, Julian reached into his pocket and pulled out a small sketchbook. I've been carrying this for 5 years. Inside were dozens of sketches, all of her in various cities, scenarios, moments they had shared, and some they hadn't. The final page showed a woman looking out over a city skyline, her back to the viewer. The last time I saw you, he explained, before Venice. Maya touched the drawing gently. And now, Julian turned to a blank page. Now we start fresh. A new work together. No forgeries, no pretending to be something we're not. He handed her a pencil. Your move, artist. Maya smiled and began to sketch, not a copy of someone else's vision, but something entirely her own. 2 figures standing by a river. Faces turned toward each other, neither running nor chasing, simply present in the same moment after years apart. As the first light of dawn touched the Zurich skyline, Maya Rivera, or perhaps Mira Reyes, or perhaps someone new entirely, made her choice. Not the safety of a life built on careful lies, nor the familiar danger of her criminal past, but something harder and more honest, a future she would create, stroke by stroke, with her own hands.